Greetings, human. We come in peace with episode 5 of the podcast, and today's episode is Alien Ripoffs. So strap in as we head to where no one can hear you scream. Our crew on deck today, controlling the engines and the editing, we have Captain Deadpan, aka Will, followed by the fleet's Mr. Nice Guy, the one who we have around just to keep the place sane. Also, he may be an android. That's right, it's Oli. Also, the forgettable third member, the one whose opinion mostly sucks. Mostly. That's right, it's me, it's Shin. So get your plasma rifles and sharp sticks ready, because we are on for another bug hunt. This is Night of the Flicks, and it's time for our featured presentation. Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
We're alright.
Good. How are you, Ollie?
It's good. It's been an interesting week of films. Shit.
Hasn't it? Hasn't it? What did you guys think of that opening? Actually, I wrote it 5 minutes before the.
It was good. It was actually better than I expected.
Yeah,
I literally.
so
I know I said to you guys just before the podcast, but I'll say literally I was sitting here 10 minutes before we were ready to record, thinking, right, I'm ready. I'm just reading up on the films again just to remind myself. And I was like, shit, I haven't done the opening. So I literally was like 10 minutes late as I was writing it out quickly. But you are right. What an interesting week of films, Ollie.
Interesting is certainly the word, Shin.
It's gonna be a spicy one.
I think so. So, I don't know if we did announce it last episode, but we are doing Alien ripoffs this week, as there are. As I was sort of researching into it, there are so many Alien ripoffs, and I also realised that any horror film in space is apparently an Alien ripoff. Apparently, like
Yeah.
I was watching videos and it was telling you like all the Alien ripoffs, and I was like, that's not even an Alien ripoff. It's just in space.
I noticed that when I was looking at lists and other people's YouTube videos, and people were just throwing in any kind of sci-fi film that was in space. Like,
Yeah.
It was also any movie that basically had a monster coming out of its body as well, even if it was set on Earth. Like, because I know we discussed doing Blue.
Blue Monkey.
Blue Monkey, which is
Yeah.
set in a hospital about like someone who gets pricked by a plant and then all of a sudden has like a monster like come out of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. It is so there was a huge list of movies to pick from, but I think we picked 3 solid, good Alien knockoffs. Even though they're all based in the 80s.
I think a lot of it, like I think all 3 of them, I think you can sort of kind of consider Alien knockoff in a way. You know what I mean? I think they all meet the credentials. Because I was literally thinking the other day, I was like, because a lot of the films we choose we don't know what they are. There's a high chance that we'll end up picking something, and it won't really actually be. Like when you said about doing. You were thinking of doing like surreal films for next week. Well, it's not confirmed yet, but that's what we were sort of thinking. So I was looking at some films, and I was like, this one I've been kind of fancying, but I don't actually know if I know it's meant to be a little bit weird, but I don't know if it's going to meet the criteria. So I think it's just quite I think we'll definitely have a few situations where we have that.
Yeah. I think this week all these 3 films, if not a rip-off, like highly influenced by Alien and its success.
Yeah, I think what we'll do at the end, a little fun thing to do, is we'll rank it in what was just a straight up rip-off and which was slightly influenced. I think that might be a fun little thing to do at the end.
Yeah.
So I thought before we get into the movies, I thought as a little icebreaker, I've got Screen Rant 10 truly terrible sci-fi horror movies that rip off Alien. So I thought this would be good. Maybe more. I think we've done our research, but might be good for the viewers so they can sort of see if they've seen any of these, see if you guys have seen any of these. So we have number 10. I can't even read that first one. Inseminoid?
Inseminoid.
Inseminoid. Yeah, Inseminoid. 1981. It says here, gruesome chestburster scene. Oh, so it has an infamous chestburster scene, similar to Aliens, apparently. So, and looking at the pictures, it definitely looks. Number 9, Alien from the Deep, 1989. Another one I've never seen, but the picture, it literally looks like it literally looks like a xenomorph is on the screen. Yeah, so never heard of that one, you guys?
So was that the one that's actually set like in basically like the deep sea? Because I think I saw that one when researching this.
I know there was a couple because you had like Deep Star 6 and Leviathan, which kind of tried to bank on Aliens and the Abyss. So they basically wanted to make an Abyss, but Aliens at the same time, which they're both really actually pretty solid movies. They're pretty good.
But it says here the Filipino-Italian production, Alien from the Deep, also seems to borrow a page from The Abyss and Godzilla.
Nice.
Fair enough. Another one, number 8 from 1991. We've got a film called Dead Space. Nothing to do with the game, but again, I don't.
Yeah, that was one that I nearly went for this episode, just on name alone. Because I knew it had obviously to do with Dead Space, but I was like, well, it's Dead Space, you know. So, yeah.
Oh, apparently, the only bonus is catching a glimpse of a young Bryan Cranston, who plays one of the scientists aboard. Oh
wow.
Interesting. We got number 7, which is a relatively more recent one, which I have seen. Pandorum. I think that's how you say it. Pandora from 2009. Which is one I have seen. I think I'd seen it when it came out. I think I remember renting it from Blockbuster. And I think we actually owned it for a bit.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Rented it. Watched that.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid, Ben Foster.
I love Ben Foster. I think Ben Foster is such a great actor, but he just he's not the biggest star that you think he should be. He's been in some cracking movies and played some cracking roles, but you know, he's just it's like he's not been given that proper chance to become mainstream A-lister.
Agreed. Yeah, have you seen that one, Will?
I've not seen that one.
It's actually, if I remember right, I remember it being pretty good, but I haven't seen it for a long.
Set design on it was awesome. Like they had some really good set designs, and concepts of the movie was really good. It just fell a little bit flat.
I think I did see it in a list, but I was like, if it's 2009, how can it be a rip-off? You know what I mean?
It's more like a mutant zombie movie, really.
Mm-hmm. You've got number 6, which is interesting. From 1992, you've got Critters 4.
Wow.
Yeah, which is the one in space. And I have seen this, and I think I might be wrong, maybe it's not this one, but I think this one has young Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Or Brad Pitt. It has a really famous actor who's but really young in it. I know it's definitely one of the Critters, and I'm pretty sure it's Critters 4. But anyway, so Critters 4. Number 5, sorry, it was one that was just mentioned, 1989 Leviathan.
Nice.
Which I've not seen, but from the clips that I have seen, it probably actually looks like one of the best ones.
It's really good. I would highly recommend Leviathan. It's a great movie. It's just a rip-off of Aliens and the Abyss.
Yeah. It looks interesting. Everything I've seen about it actually looks interesting. So, yeah. Oh, another one which is relatively recent, and a film that got really badly reviewed, but I really, really like this one. and it's not an Alien ripoff. It's just in space, but it's Apollo 18.
Is that the one that's more like found footage type?
Yeah. It's it was a found footage one of the two guys, and I think they go to the moon, and there's an organism on the moon which ends up infecting one of the guys. And he starts like getting like infected in like ragey kind of thing. Like I remember it being really good, but then I remember I've seen people talk about it recently or like over the years, and I hear a lot of bad stuff about it, but I generally enjoyed it when I first watched it. Yeah. Number 3 is one that we were all aware of. 1986. We've got Star Crystal.
Great movie.
More to expand on shortly.
Yes. One that I don't think I even heard about this one when I was researching. 1990s The Rift.
Oh yeah, oh dude, The Rift is great. So it's got the sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, and he basically has a submarine, and they go deep into the ocean, and they find this crazy cave full of monsters, aliens, all sorts. Insanely gory. Yeah, great movie. Highly recommend.
Nice.
Yeah, really, it's a really good movie. Good acting.
Nice. Yeah, the picture is a bit blurry, so I can't quite see. But there's some guys like he looks like he's having a bad time. And then number 1, we've got 1982's Forbidden World.
See, I almost picked that for this episode, but from my little research that I did, it seemed like it initially started out as like, oh, Alien did really good. We need to kind of someone was just like, let's just remake it, but we'll put our thing on it. And from what I'd seen, it was had like a Mad Maxy type feel to it. It was like from like the set design and stuff. And I don't know how much of a rip-off it really is, so I didn't pick it because I wanted to try and stay a bit more like truer to rip-off rather than influenced.
Yeah.
It's probably trying to rip off multiple movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one that I did have on DVD, and I think it definitely would have classed as it would have fitted into the thing. And I was actually tempted to pick this. There was a few that I was tempted to pick. There was this one. There was Creepzoids, and there was a few others that which aren't on this list, which I was tempted to pick. I'm trying to think of some that are not on this list that we're not going to talk about today. Obviously, we mentioned Blue Monkey. I think it's also called Insects, isn't it?
Yeah, Insects. Yeah, I think Blue Monkey was the Canadian. That's how they released it in Canada, because it's a Canadian movie, like an exploitation. But more current. You've got Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal's Life.
Oh, of course, Life, yes.
Which is more of like a current Alien ripoff, which is also a really good movie.
Yeah, I really liked that film, and what I liked most about that was the ending. I thought it was really, it was quite a dark ending, wasn't it?
Yeah, very somber ending.
Yeah. You've also got Creature.
Yeah.
That's the one that has Kinski, isn't it? Is that correct, or am I wrong with that one? Claude Kinski.
I believe so.
Pitch Black. I've just looked on Google, and it's come up with Pitch Black, which I can kind of see a little bit, which is a more of a modern one. That's 2000s. God, it's not that modern, is it, nowadays? Well,
there was one I saw that was called Metamorphosis, the Alien Factor. That was one I almost picked, which literally looks like they just kind of made Xenomorph with like more teeth.
Oh no, I know the poster. I've seen the poster for that. Yeah, it is basically Xenomorph, but doesn't it have eyes, like proper eyes and more teeth?
Yeah.
Deep Star 6. the list goes on and on, really, doesn't it?
It's Alien has influenced a crazy amount of movies. Same with Aliens; they're both very influential movies. There's no, going down that route of that genre, you can't not reference Alien or Aliens because they just did it perfectly.
Yeah, I do agree. I'd like all of these films that we're looking at. I mean, I've not seen all of them, obviously, but I think none of them do quite beat Alien and Aliens. But yeah, that was just a fun little icebreaker with a lot of movies. So if you listeners, any of those interest you, and you go and check them out, I'm sure they'll be terrible. So do you guys want to get into the first film?
Yeah, let's
let's
go
talk
for
about
it.
the ones that we've watched.
So yeah, this was my pick, Alien 2
Ah,
on
yes.
Earth, 1980, directed by Biagio Proletti and Ciro Ippolito. Sorry if I butchered those.
Absolutely spot
A bit of
on.
backstory. Apparently, Ciro Ippoliti, was it Ciro Ippoliti? Yeah. He only filmed a couple of scenes and was sacked from the production. So majority of the movie was filmed by Ciro. So a bit of background. So this is an Italian horror alien ripoff. Brief context: a group of cave explorers are confronted in an underground cavern by a mysterious living rock. Little do they know that it bears home to deadly flesh-eating creatures intent on wiping out the entire human population. Ultra low budget, unofficial, unauthorized sequel to 1979's film Alien, although the plot has little connection to the original film. Well, so, what did we think?
Just before we get into that, there was also I think they did get sued, but I believe they got away with it because of the book Alien, or there was a book from like this from earlier on,
1930s.
yeah, which they got away. And then I don't know how true this is, but I did hear it. Apparently, they sued, or the guys behind this tried to sue Descent.
They did,
Yeah,
I read that as well. Just because of the fact that it was set in a cave. Don't know how successful they were with it though.
I doubt they probably.
Yeah, I don't
got very
imagine
far.
it got very far at all.
Yeah, and another thing before we get into the movie as well. What do you guys? The Alien 2, like that really intrigues me. You know, like the way that they just call it Alien 2 as just to try and get the
It's just to bring in more viewership, isn't it?
which is not the only film to have done it, especially the Italians.
Italians are pound for it.
Yeah,
especially in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite movies. Well, we know it in the UK more as Zombie Flesh Eaters, but it has the title Zombie 2, which tried to do this very similar thing that this did for Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, because weren't Dawn of the Dead called Zombie in Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was never actually a Zombie 1. That's what it's always confused me growing up. Like I was like, what? Why is it called Zombie 2? And obviously I understand because they're just trying to cash in on the name.
I do want to preface this because obviously this was my pick, so I did some research. So the director, when he was, because he kind of writ it as well at the same time, when he was trying to get the money for the production of this, his initial budget that he got, he pissed away on a fancy new fast car. Then he spent the rest of the money on escorts and in the casinos. And because he was doing so badly, he actually ended up owing a shit ton of money to the mafia.
Oh my god.
So there is like pretty much no money left for the budget for the movie. So he had to go back to the producers and lie and say, "Oh, the cave scenes for the majority of the movie it's going to cost a hell of a lot more than we kind of budgeted for. So can I have some more money?" Because the original budget he just wasted basically on hookers, cars, and casinos, which is brilliant. Really, that's such a fascinating story.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I only heard about it when you told me about it before. That's so interesting. But the one thing that this film does do as well, which is slightly like wasn't expecting when we'd pick this, is it actually doesn't take place in space. It's on Earth. It's
Absolutely.
in caves, which
I think that was maybe one of its upsides. It's like quite an interesting setting. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to? Because it's your movie, Ollie. Do you want to talk through the movie, like how the start and?
I can. I don't want to be facetious while I talk about the movie, because obviously there's some people here on this podcast that loved this movie, and there's a few of us that really, really dislike this movie. So my analysis of this movie is you've got roughly 45-50 minutes of following a man and a lady go on a long drive. They go to the beach. They go to a bowling alley. They go to a bar. Then they're in a cave. Beat the monsters in the cave. Exit the cave. Then go back to the bowling alley.
I mean,
we're gonna guess you're one of the ones that don't like it.
It's it's the initial 15 minutes of this movie is, I would say, it's an endurance test.
Yeah.
It's a tough watch because there is no character development. There is a little bit of backstory. You know, you get this old sort of news footage of, oh, there's astronauts, oh, there's something that's happened in space, there's like I think it's meteors hitting the Earth, but it's vaguely pinpointed on. Then you have about a 10-minute driving scene of this scientist lady who is a geologist,
and she's not quite feeling well.
She's not feeling
something's
well.
off.
So she goes to have a TV interview to talk about rocks, which is incredibly boring. She exits the interview and then she ends up going to the beach with this dude, Roy, because Roy is the only name you could actually remember throughout the entire movie. And she's under psychological help. So she goes to this sort of beach estuary, and for probably 5-10 minutes of the movie, you watch an old man with a beard wave at her from his yacht to her on the beach, and they literally film him waving, climbing off his yacht, getting into his rowboat, rowing across the estuary, and she's there waiting. You're like, oh, okay, what's going on here? You know, this could be an interesting scene, a bit of character development. He gets to the shore, he climbs out of his boat, he walks up to the lady and basically says, oh yeah, I'm a bit busy at the minute, I can't really stop. And then he just walks off. And that is it. That is the scene finished. And we've just wasted 5-10 minutes of this man rowing a boat for no reason, just to try and get a glimpse of some sort of character development. And there is none.
It's just like
and then,
back
if
and
I remember
forth
rightly,
cuts between like
just
her face and him like slowly approaching.
It doesn't show any of her psychological problems. You know nothing about it until, you know, a little bit of spoiler. They get to the cave, and all of a sudden she's got telepathy, which comes out of nowhere. But I'm sure we'll get on to that. But then there's just they go to a bowling alley. They meet this crazy dude at the bowling alley who's behind the counter, and it's hilarious. And then there's just long tracking shots of pins being loaded behind the scenes in the bowling alley. And they meet this group, and it's obviously the group they're going to go spelunking with and cave searching with. Zero character development. Did you know one of the characters was the guy in the silver mask in Demons?
Michelle Suave.
I did, yeah, I saw that afterwards. But
I
wouldn't have
couldn't
known
believe it. You wouldn't have known it because there is zero character development. I can't even remember the main actress's character's name. The supporting character, the man, can't remember. I only remember his name's Roy because it screamed probably 100 times in the last 10 minutes. Okay, so they go spelunking. They end up in a cave. They're exploring a cave. Come across some monsters. The cave setting's great. There's some really nice shots of but I could talk about this movie for ages, but I would love to hear your opinion, Will.
So the first few notes I wrote down, I mean, it goes with all these kind of Italian remake inspired by films, but the dubbing and the dialogue. So you mentioned her psychiatrist, I think his name's Peter. His dialogue was just "Oh, hi Laura. Oh, sorry you feel bad. Yeah, I must get going now." I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then
It's a fact I wasted so much time on it.
we get to the bowling alley, and there's a black guy manning the reception, and he's got these headphones in, and he's on something strong, because his dialogue is insane. It's probably the only funny part of the film. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
I think that guy, I might be wrong, but I think the voice, whoever's doing the dubbing, it was definitely a white guy doing an impression.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was.
Because it really made me cringe, that bit. I was like, oh, this is horrible.
And yeah, just like you said, the whole 30 odd minutes of just them doing these different activities. Not only is it just long and boring, but there's so many long, boring shots that it became like a patience test. There's so many shots of bowling pins, and I was like, what does bowling have to do with Alien or rocks or something happen already? And then once we do get to actual spelunking, there's even more really, really long shots of them coming down, abseiling, but because there's no lighting, all you can see is a tiny bit of rope and these massive flashing lights, and you think they might cut it and make it look a bit interesting, but no, it's literally minute long shots of these people slowly abseiling in pitch black.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's really testing my patience. Yeah, what did you think, Shin, at this point?
Right. Can you guess which few didn't like it, and now the one who liked it? That's me. Right. I have a very different opinion on this than you guys. But the thing is I agree with a lot of the things you're saying. So for me, I think you mentioned that it doesn't say anything about the telekinesis. I think unless at the very start it mentions it.
Broadly, and I mean
broadly.
It's not something you pick up and say, "Oh yeah, this lady has telepathic intuition." It's broad as anything.
I won't go through the story again because we mentioned it, but this is what for me. This is a really perfect blend for me of a movie that is bad, it's good, and have a lot of fun with it. But it's also mixed with things that I really actually thought was really good about it, which we'll sort of get into a little bit more. I know there's a few things that you disagree with, but it has a really good balance of it being fun and yeah, there are some. Even I was thinking like they are dragging this out. These guys have a 60-minute movie and they're trying to get it to that 80-minute mark. You know what I mean? Like they're like that bit when he comes across on the boat. It made me laugh so much. And there was just a lot of points where like one person would abseil down, and then you watch the next person abseil down, and you're literally watching it in real time with these people abseiling
It's
down.
so
Like
dark.
I completely agree with that. But for me, it's like I there's a lot of things in this film that I know are not good. When I say like I really enjoyed this movie, I'm not going to say that it's a really well-made movie. Despite, I will say there are some moments that I do think are really good, but it's that cheesy fun, and I actually had such a good time with it. So it obviously starts off well. You've got like before they go to the cave, it is a little bit. I was a little bit like, okay, when's it going to start? But then you get that bit on the beach before they go to the cave with the little girl.
Yep.
And then from that, I was like, "Oh wow, that's really good." I really liked the. I thought that was really well done. I thought the effects on it was quite creepy. I thought the effects were quite good. I thought it was quite ballsy just to do that, like to a young like kid. You know, I think we mentioned it on the last episode. Like, and then they get to the cave, and I think from the cave onwards, it was when I was completely won over by the film. And I was watching it because I knew one of you guys didn't like it already or was not a fan of the film. And I was watching it and I was really like, I'm not sure what you don't see in this. And then it wasn't until I've seen everyone else's reviews and everyone that I'm kind of thinking maybe I might be in the minority. Well, I definitely am in the minority. But yeah, I just had a really fun time with this. I thought it was cheesy. I thought it had good bad moments, and I thought it also had a lot of good moments. And I think when you blend all that together, it makes a film that I had a lot of fun with.
You're not viewing it with sort of rainbow spectacles, are you? Because you're a massive Italian horror fan. I love Italian horror movies. You know, everyone loves Italian horror movies. You don't think you're just kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt a little bit?
No, I will say, like, I'm not like because I've watched plenty of Italian films that I just think are suck and I don't like at all. But at the same time, there's one thing like with Italian horrors as well, and I don't like to use it as an excuse, but it's part of the cinema and it's nightmare logic, dream logic, where a lot of like your Lamberto Bavas, your Fulcis, and a lot of Italian directors. Sometimes their narrative seems that if you think about it, it doesn't always make logical sense. But like I've always kind of seen it as a little bit of an excuse, but it's part of Italian cinema. Is that nightmare dream logic where things just doesn't always make sense, and they kind of bat it off, saying, "Oh yeah, it's just nightmare logic." That's how we do our films and stuff. But yeah, I think there is definitely a little bit of me that goes. I think it's not that I'm pretending to like the film, not at all. But there's a little bit of I enjoy that Italian charm. I like the Italian goofiness. And there's a lot of films that I've seen people review. 3 out of 10 on IMDb or 2 out of 10, and their letterbox scores are 1 and 2s, and I've loved it. So I just think maybe it's just it's something I enjoy. It's my preference. You know what I mean? Like, I just maybe enjoy something that some people don't enjoy. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. It's only opinions and stuff. So.
Oh no, I love the fact that you enjoyed it. There is elements of this movie that are enjoyable. It's just that first 45, 50 minutes of just filler and no character development, no plot, makes it an endurance test. But as soon as they get to the cave, it becomes watchable, and that Italian charm certainly shines through. It's just that first 50 minutes. It's a tough watch.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's just how it felt, but I don't remember the opening being that long. But maybe it was 50 minutes, and maybe it just went a bit quicker for me. But
I was watching it on YouTube because obviously
oh
the
yeah,
movie it's free to watch on YouTube. And I was like, when is this movie going to start? When is this movie? And I kept
really?
looking
Oh,
to
okay.
see the timestamps, and it got to the 40, 45 minute mark where we weren't at the cave yet. I think at that point you just get to the bar with the old lady, but just before they go cave diving, spelunking, and that's when the movie kind of properly starts.
Yeah, yeah,
I think for me, you mentioned it being kind of like this, like the goofiness of it, and you like really enjoyed it. But it came across for me that it didn't kind of go into that threshold of being like a film that's so bad it's good. It didn't go into that threshold, and there wasn't enough kind of over the top goofiness that you see in like some other films that we've seen
yeah.
that I found enjoyable. So it just kind of like tilted in between like good Italian gore, some great scenes, but there wasn't anything else enjoyable that was keeping me engaged. So I just kind of I got so bored watching this film. So I yeah, it I didn't really see the charm so much, but I know there is parts and scenes of this film that are enjoyable, but to wait around 45 minutes to an hour to see them is not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, it didn't feel that long for me. Like I will say, the bit before the cave, if the entire movie was like that, it'd probably be like a 2 out of 10. Like, I didn't, but like I thought the opening up until the cave was all right. It didn't do character development very good. I completely agree with that. It did seem a little bit random. There was so many shots that were just overlong, and like you could just see them trying to um you could pad it out a little bit. But for me, that was whenever that was happening, I was smiling. Like, and maybe like that was when I say it's so bad it's good. That was something for me that was making me laugh. And when I was like, okay, she's been walking on this beach now for just before she walks up to the little girl and starts shouting at her, she's walking on the beach for about 30 seconds. It's just 30 seconds of her walking on the beach. And I was laughing. Like, it's making me, I was smiling at it because I could see what they were doing. So, like, that first point, I don't think there was much in there that was technically very good. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say, oh, what a great filmmaker. Like, but when it got to the cave and onwards, I thought that most of it was really well made. And like, as in, like, I was thinking like some of these things are like it was constantly like set piece after set piece. I was like, I quite like this. Like, like this is good. Like, whereas the first half of the film, I was kind of laughing at some of the amateurness about it. You know what I mean? So that's why it had that balance. I was laughing at the start, and I was kind of taking the mick out of the movie a little bit, and then the second half where we're in the cave, I was like, actually, wow, this is turned into a really good movie, like in my opinion. So
It's
yeah,
definitely a movie. If you've got a group of people and you're sitting there watching it, you could probably have a really good time with. But if you're sitting there on your own watching this for, say, like we are for the podcast, for reviewing, it is a serious endurance test. And I know Will's brought up like the Italian goofiness aspect of it, but how goofy can you get when you have a spelunker bring in a heavy typewriter and a couple of candlesticks and lights candles to write a novel in the middle of a pitch black
That did
cave?
make me laugh.
that for me I thought that was. I laughed so
It
much
was
when
brilliant. I was laughing at that. I
Yeah,
was.
that was Michelle Suave. That was Bert. And
Yeah,
obviously, we've talked about Michelle Suave in the Demons episode, and he's actually like a director who's made some incredible movies. So
yeah.
it was quite interesting watching this guy like when he like I did think I was like, why is he carrying this typewriter down, and why has he got these candles? And it was so like that bit. I was laughing at it. Like I was like, what is that? That is so silly. That's so
Random.
stupid. But
I don't know if
yeah,
you guys have picked up a typewriter, but they are so heavy. And the fact that he's lugged this all the way down into these caves, I was like, oh, right.
yeah. Like I say, I will not want like with what you guys are saying about the film, and like I can completely understand. Like I'm not sitting here saying like how the hell have you guys not liked this? I can understand why somebody wouldn't like it,
Mm.
but I just there was something about it that I really connected with, and I think it was just I was sitting watching it on my own. It was probably like 12 o'clock at night, so and I'm just sitting there with my headphones on watching it, and I was just I was mixture of laughing and and then like you say when it got good, I was like wow, like kind of like I know it's very low reviewed film, but there was a few bits that actually blew me away. Like that's how good some of the moments were for me.
There are some really good scenes, especially the gore. The gore aspect is that quintessential Italian gore from, say, like late 70s, early 80s. It's very good. The gore is awesome.
I think
The
if we talk through the cave bit like a little bit more because there's quite a lot of set pieces in there. Because we spoke about the start a lot, and yes, the start isn't great. It made me laugh a little bit, but it's not great. But they before they go into the cave, the guy picks up this rock, this like blue rock, which we know something's dodgy because the little girl before she got like her face mowied off, whatever it is, she sees this rock. So you know that this rock's bad news. And then the first sort of bit of action, or is when she's got it in her backpack, and the girl following. You just kind of hear screams. You don't actually really see what happens, but you hear screams, and then the main girl's running back, and she's like, "Something's happened." Her face, but we as the audience know what's gone on. But then when they get to her, after again, it is a very drawn out scene of them trying to like get down to her and get her back up,
oh
because
my
she's
god, yeah.
like they realise that her face is absolutely fine. So, but you believe the main character because you've seen what happened. So it's kind of like, hang on, what's going on? And then after a really long, drawn out scene of them bringing her up and she's banging her on every rock, and just like the way they were carrying her as well, I was like, she's just dragging her across the rocks. Like, what are you doing? But this is when you get the first scene that I think it's the best scene in the film, or maybe one of the best scenes in the film. Is basically you've got this girl like they've got her up, and then she's on like a stretcher, and you have this extremely long shot of it
Oh my
going.
god, that shot is insane. I was so frustrated because I know you were just about to say it, but it's a shot of basically pitch black, the edge of the cliff, and then it slowly works her way up her body, up her legs, all the way up to her face. But the problem is that tracking shot goes on for so goddamn long.
Yeah, it does not need to be that long.
It doesn't need to be that long. It could have been just a quick, a relatively quick, just pan shot. But it drags the panning shot on for so long. But it ends in a really good way.
Mm.
Yeah.
The shot at the end is good. The gore is excellent. The way it's executed is fantastic. It's just the trying to build up that tension just doesn't work whatsoever. Then it just becomes more frustrating because the movie, as soon as it gets to the cave, it becomes really interesting. You get more engaged with it. But yeah, that first, the first proper gory part of the movie was really well executed.
Yeah, like so it basically zooms on and it goes to her. It ends up going to her face, and then I thought it was done really, really well. And you've got her face starts bubbling, and then this is the Alien sort of rip-off moment, really, where you get well, instead of a chest burster, it's a face burster, and this creature comes out of a face, and you see her eye like falling off her face, and then you get this creature that comes out and. Like it's all practical. I love that. And then you get another incredible bit where it attacks the guy. It starts it just jumps on him. Your very typical sort of 80s style of puppet horror where he's just holding this little thing to him, and then he ends up falling. It wraps around his neck, and he's like dangling, and all the people are watching him from above, seeing this thing around his neck, and it just I don't know if it eats his. I don't know how it but his head just comes off.
Yeah, it kind of just chews through his head and just decapitates him.
And it was really good. And it kind of I wouldn't say it's not nowhere near as good, but it kind of had that gore of The Thing. You know what I mean? Like the way his head is kind of just falling off, and you've got this like this body horror sort of. That bit was I was kind of enjoying the movie, but this bit I was like, that was brilliant. And then from there on in, from that moment, I don't think I lost the movie again. I think I was just in the movie for the whole rest of the film. And I thought that scene was really good. And his head drops down, and then everyone sort of starts panicking and running around a little bit. And then from that moment onwards, it kind of turns into a little bit of a slasher in a way, each one by one they start getting taken out and stuff. The one gripe that I actually had, an actual gripe that when I was watching, I was like, I don't quite understand that. Was I don't understand why they all split up.
Yeah,
that was the one thing that I was like, why are they all splitting up for? I don't understand. I don't understand that side, especially when there's an alien about.
Yeah, I thought they were just trying to find another exit. So that's why I initially thought, oh, okay, they've split up.
Yeah, I was under the impression one of them was going the main way they thought of, and then the other group was trying to find a different way out.
Yeah, I will say, the negatives at this point, I will say definitely I agree with you, Ollie. The character development, there was about 3 or 4 characters that I was like, okay, I know who they are. But then there was another, the rest of them, the other 3 or 4 characters, I was like, I don't know who they are. For me, I think, it's not great, but they're just fodder, and I enjoy watching them die. But yeah, I understand, it was pretty poorly done the way they developed certain characters. I liked Bert. You got Roy, you got the main woman, like you said, I don't even know what her name is. And to be fair, she was probably the worst character. She annoyed me. Yeah. She was just screaming and all that. But but I do love this moment where they all split up a little bit, and then they get picked off one by one. And I loved all the kills. I thought the deaths were. You've got when Bert dies with that girl. You've got this weird thing on the wall, and they end up the girl gets her eye sucked out or something like that, and you've got that really good shot of her face been eaten, and then Bert then gets it, and I like that kill. And then you've got the other bit later where the guy, I think he's possessed or something like that, or he gets brainwashed or something. I'm trying to think which bit I mean.
He thinks the woman's there. Is that what you're on about? But she's not. It's not actually her.
It's the bit where I think his head explodes in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome scene.
Yeah. Like I say, I mean, I really like these bits, but yeah. And another thing a big gripe that I have, and I know you've mentioned it as well, Ollie, is the telepathy. Yeah, the telepathy. That you did not need that in the film.
It wasn't needed.
No.
It was very pointless.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
she uses it just that one time, and she doesn't really need it either.
Yeah,
if I remember right, she gets the telepathy and she senses something further into the cave.
Yeah, if they were gonna have the telepathy in it, they should have made it so she becomes a bit more badass towards the end. You know, if they wanted to go that route. But it turns out it didn't do anything. Like, I completely agree with that. Like, that did not need to be there. Um, but yeah, obviously Roy, a moment you really like, Ollie. Roy
I
hurts his
love
leg.
it's my favourite scene in the entire movie. So Roy twists his ankle or hurts his leg, and he's like, I can't go on, I can't go on, I need help. So, but then all of a sudden, when they realise there's an exit and the alien is chasing them, it goes into this crazy slow motion shot, and there is literally nothing wrong with Roy's leg, and he's basically doing the 100-meter sprint out of this cave, and it's so hilarious because they play on how twisted his ankle is for him to go into this slow mo shot. I loved it. I loved that scene just because of how bad it was.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and that's what I'm saying about this film. Like, the reason why I think I liked it so much is because you've just had these moments of really good things that I really enjoyed, like really good gore and good kills. And then in the middle of it, you've got like these silly bits, like where he is like that slow mo run. He's got his ankles hurting, but he's still like legging it, and like things like that. I just think it was a really good blend of them. What did you sort of think of the cave bits, Will? Like when the action sort of starts?
The action parts and the gory parts, like you said, all the kills, it was the part of it was the best part of the film. It's like it's what I was kind of hoping there would be more of, especially being like the Italian horror sort of scene. It's what they're good at. It's like blood, gore, guts, everything, and the scenes that are there are wicked. I just wish there was a bit more. But there is one thing that we have not spoke about that really, really got on my nerves. I don't know if either of you noticed it, but it was a soundtrack. So there's two main songs, and they use it it's like a typical like tension building type song. And the first one comes in when they're coming down into the caves, and it is so goddamn horrible and annoying and screechy. I'll put a clip in if I can. We'll see. And then there's one a little bit later into the film, after a few kills, that kind of sounds like it was a bit Jaws inspired, and that one got old very, very quick. And they don't even like come in at like the right time, and then they like randomly cut out, and they just play it for minutes and minutes on end, and it was honestly giving me a headache. I don't know if either of you noticed them, but that was one. The fact that I wasn't really engaged in the film, and then these songs were like nagging in the background for me. I was like, oh, this is really, really testing me. But when the gore was happening, I was like, oh no, that's they were good scenes. It was just everything else that just ruined it for me.
You see, the thing is that I like the music was. I didn't think it was bad. I actually thought there was a few moments that, like, I thought, oh, the music actually sounds pretty good here. Like maybe I just missed the other bits. You know, like not once did I go, oh, that music doesn't sound good there. But like, you know, I'm not always listening out for the music. You know what I mean? But there were a few times I went, oh, I quite like that music. But then when I did do some research, I did realise that the music, the brothers, they've done a lot of Italian horror. And a
Right.
lot of ones I really like, and things like they've got. I think they did. I might be wrong. But I think they did Torso, which I think that's Michelle Suave's film, and then you've got Blade in the Dark, which was a Lamberto Bava film. And they've done loads, and they've probably done like 100 films I've never heard of. But there's probably about 6 or 7 films I actually quite like that they've done the music for. So like I thought. Like I was a bit surprised. I didn't realise they did the music for Death Proof, from 2007, Tarantino.
Wow.
Yeah, which I thought was an interesting one. But yeah,
What did we make of the alien creature designs?
I
Did you-
think it was a bit inconsistent.
It was. It wasn't clear cut what the alien monster actually kind of looked like. So you had these sort of snake-like penises at some points, and then you get to the point of view of the monster, and all around like the edge of the framing of the shot, it just looked like someone's arsehole, someone's, sphincter. And it was just basically a massive sphincter monster that I had in my head that was taking these people down.
Yeah, that we'll get to the ending soon, but like that shot, like point of view, and it's literally they've just surrounded the camera with some like slightly hairy flesh, and yeah, I was
it looked like I was peering into some dude's arsehole.
oh,
Yeah, I kind of like I didn't. If you were going to ask me to draw the creature now, I don't think I'd really be able to. The only thing that I've got in my head is you've got obviously the face burster scene where its jaw opens, like. But I don't think I ever saw that thing again. Like after that, they were like worm tentacle things,
Worm
like
tentacle sort of monsters.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you only see that probably once or twice, and then it just goes completely into the point of view of the alien, which looks like someone's sphincter. That's the thing. So you don't technically see what the monster really is, like the fully
No.
fleshed monster.
Yeah.
No, I
And like I
was
say, I don't. Sorry, carry on.
I was kind of under the impression with that weird rock that they found, and they found it at like the gas station, didn't they, or something?
Yeah.
And then they took it down, and then I was like, okay, so the aliens are like part of the rocks, or they're coming from the rocks or something, but they just kind of come out of like nowhere a bit, and they're these weird like liver kidney looking creatures, which then turn into like more like penisy butthole creatures that suck eyes out, and I was like, what? That confused me a bit.
Yeah, there was like for me, like there's like a 50-50 thing. Like I enjoyed like the effects of them. I love the creature at the start when it comes out of the face and its jaw opens. I wish I'd seen more of that. But then yeah, I agree. Like they there is no definition of how it looks. You know what I mean? Like so that can also be that is a bad thing. Like I agree with that. But then I do think on the other side of it, I was not once I was frustrated that I didn't get to see them. More I'm like. And maybe because I'm more into the film than you guys were, you probably were thinking, when's it going to end? Where I was more like, it was that mystery of them that I was actually quite intrigued about. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of, and again, like I know these are comparisons that are nowhere near what they're very different, like on scale of goodness. But you know, like when you watch The Thing, like it kind of takes all these forms and it's hard to know like the actual definition of it, like, and that's how I kind of got with this. And again, I'm not comparing this to The Thing. It's nowhere near as good as that. But I've got to be careful what I say because I'm going to make some enemies. But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like there's this sort of mystery to them, and like because I'm not sitting there as well. I mean, I'm really positive about the film while watching it. I don't think I was never like frustrated. Like I want to see what this is. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So 1 minute it's like when it takes the form of like the more human people. You know, when it like almost like infects the people, and like I was getting thingy vibes to it. You know what I mean?
It kind of like makes a duplicate of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so I didn't really have much against that. Like I can see why it is a bit frustrating because you want to see what it is, you know, and it never really does. And they seem a little bit inconsistent, but I didn't take that as a negative so much. It was more of I was more like, this is interesting. Like this is interesting to me, but it doesn't really answer it, which maybe would have been better if it did. But like again, like I wasn't too bothered about that, you know.
So moving on to the ending, because I think we need to wrap this one up soon.
Yes.
You really enjoyed it. Why?
Who Ollie?
No, you.
No. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I loved the ending. I thought the ending was it. I thought made the film, I was thinking, like I don't know if you guys do this, but when you're sort of watching it, like I think it's because I've got Letterboxd on my mind all the time. I'm like sort of thinking this is looking about 3 stars at the minute. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys do that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself like, this is like maybe 3.5, 3.5 stars. I was having a lot of fun with it, a lot better than what I thought, and then that ending elevated it to like even higher. Like what it kind of what vibes I got from the film. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Night of the Comet.
Yeah, you know the comic.
Like where it's just the world is just empty, kind of, and
Yeah, but the world's not empty.
It was
in this movie.
really. It felt like how they
You can see
left
people
it.
driving around in the traffic. It's a deserted city, but you can still see people stuck in traffic.
I think for me, like I did notice there was the car in there, but for me it was kind of like you can tell that they're trying to do like a 28 Days Later shot, like except they've got no budget, so they're trying to sneak out
Yeah, I
probably
get
really
that.
early in the morning.
But what?
And
She's like screaming and yelling, and she goes to the bowling alley. Why?
because it was one of the only sets they have. like why did they go to the police station?
Yeah, I just didn't.
I don't know.
I don't know. And as
Well,
you know, they come out the cave and there's a car, and he like pathetically slaps the car. I didn't enjoy the ending. I don't know where it was going. Then we got point of view anus shots that made me laugh.
I love those bits.
I know you. I bet you did.
I loved it.
Yeah, I really was just lost at this point, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I've just sat through that.
See, for me, I just thought the ending was like, again, it's probably I'm going into the ending with a different point of view because I'm like really into the movie. So it's kind of like I'm into it, and I'm like shit. They've taken over the world. Like there's a lot of films. Like when you get like is it Resident Evil 2 when she steps out and like the streets are completely deserted, or
Yeah,
like
end of Resident Evil. Yeah, end of Resident Evil 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and
not
then Night of the Comet, where the place is just completely abandoned. I find that so fascinating. Like, I just think like walking, in 28 Days Later, and what's that Keanu Reeves film that does it as well? I can't remember. But there's like these shots, these scenes, like where the world is just okay. You can see cars in the background, but I'm using my imagination a little bit. Like I get that there was a cars in the background, but like for me that was like really quite like interesting because like while they've been down there, the world's kind of, or the city at least, is kind of like there's something's happened here. Okay, she goes to the bowling alley. I was thinking, why don't you go to the police station? But then you get like these really good. I know you guys disagree, but you get like these like I really enjoyed the shots of like, and you just see the silhouette of Roy, like in the distance. Kind of, something's wrong with him, and then it has these shots from like inside the chest.
I think it was an interesting shot, but it was just hilarious how it turned out.
Yeah, because I think it's supposed to be a hole in the chest, isn't it? That's what it's going for. Like it's a hole in the chest, and the camera is shooting from within the hole, and then like obviously within the frame, you've got obviously the guts. That's how I seen it as. I thought it was a hole in the chest. That's what I thought it was. So you've got like this sort of framework of the hole because the camera's in the hole of the chest, and then you've got her like running and screaming, and it really, I thought it was such a fascinating ending. And then she's running down the streets, and it's completely deserted, and for me that was so interesting. And then you realise, obviously, the little girl at the start was infected, or like what happened to her. So she's probably started it off, and there's probably been a few other stones about, and then the world's just been killed, like or the city's been taken over by these sort of aliens, like. And I was like, when that happened, and then it just ends. It ends with her just like screaming on the floor, and there's no one around, and it's kind of that dread of like is she going to survive? What's going to happen now? And then it ends, and like that was my take of the ending.
the thing is, I've seen a lot of people's assholes and bladder nets and the inside of their bladders, all sorts. It, you know, I know you were saying it could be the shot from the chest, but it could be. But it looks like somebody's asshole to me because I've seen plenty of them. So it just, I don't know. Granted, your love for this film is slightly rubbing off on me, and I mean slightly. You know, I thought awful movie. I would not want to watch this again. This is a complete endurance test, especially for the first 45 minutes. But then the middle part is pretty solid. The gore is excellent. There's some really hilarious, funny parts of it. It's certainly got that Italian charm. I kind of disagree with you on the ending. I love the fact, you know, they tried to do the whole deserted city, like Omega Man, sort of 28 days later. But it just takes away the point that why the hell did she go to a bowling alley and get chased around by an arsehole monster? I kind of don't get it. You know.
What would you rate it?
Well, with PJ's enthusiasm over it, and kind of looking back, originally I would have gone 1 star. I'm gonna bump it up to 1.5. I'll give it a half star because of PJ's enthusiasm and looking back at some of the early shots of that slow drag 45 minutes. The fact that that man, the psychiatrist, rose from his yacht to the beach is pretty hilarious. They filmed the whole entirety of that. So it's one of those movies, if you've got a bunch of dudes round, you shove the DVD on, you have a few beers, you could have...
You need a few beers.
You need a lot of beers. You could have a relatively good time with this in a group of people, just kind of poking fun at it and laughing at it. So... yeah, I will go with 1.5 stars for Alien 2 on Earth.
Fair enough. You've been swayed ever so slightly.
Slightly. Just slightly.
Is it still the worst film you saw for the podcast?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is for me. Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I think, the thing that I put here, I think they were going for like that kind of sci-fi slow burn approach with a lot of the long shots and stuff like that. But never once did the film really get that intense for me personally. So I wasn't very engaged. I found the music highly irritating. And I think because the intro was such a slog, by the time the gore and stuff got going, I probably in the moment I was like, that's alright. But thinking back, like some of the shots were wicked, and there's a shot of the decapitated head that we were talking about, and it looks very, very real. It looks just like his head. But I think for all the film's worth, those payouts aren't that worth it, and the ending certainly didn't really work for me. So I gave it 1.5, and I'm sticking with 1.5. That's solely for gore and quite an interesting setting. To be fair, I did like the setting.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned that enough. The setting was beautiful.
Yeah,
I think it was definitely location. Like that shot on location. That's not a set because that was I thought that was really gorgeous. I thought there were some really beautiful shots in that.
Yeah.
But do you want me to go? Yeah. So you said you could enjoy this if you have a bunch of friends and lots of beer. Well, I can enjoy it with a glass of water and sitting on my own. And I enjoyed this film thoroughly, a lot more than you guys. And I think I was towards the end, I was sort of thinking this is like 3.5 stars, which I was surprised at because I went into it with really low expectations. Like I was expecting this to be like a 1 or a 2, and then that ending, elevated it up. I'm going for 4 stars.
So that's if for anyone listening on our previous episodes, like Demons is probably one of the highest, and you rated that 4.5. So you're comparing this to Demons almost.
This film is ranked the same as Assault on Precinct 13.
That's
What
mad.
did you rank?
That's...
What did you rank Demons 2?
Demons 2, 3 stars.
So you think this is better than Demons 2?
I enjoyed it more than Demons 2.
See, I'd happily watch. Not happily. I'd watch Demons 2 over this.
I think Demons 2 is definitely a better made movie, I think, but I had more fun with my experience watching this than when I watched Demons 2.
Interesting.
Well, you know, that's really all that matters is your love, and if you had fun with the movie, you know, that's completely your opinion, and you know that I'm really pleased that you really enjoyed this movie. I really do, Shin.
Thank you.
But
the thing
it's
is,
not going to be for everybody. It's not a movie. It's not a for everybody movie.
If anyone else has watched this, let us know what you think on this film. Be quite interesting to see if anyone else has seen it.
Yeah. I think, like you say, we're not. Well, I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, but I'm not a professional film critic, so my ratings are not like they're completely, subjective. Is that the right word? Yeah,
like
subjective.
Personal.
It's personal, and if I have a really good time with a film, I'm going to rate it higher than something that is maybe better made. There's a lot better made movies. I think like Splinter and Pontypool last week, I gave 3 stars. I think they're better made movies, obviously, but I had a hell of a lot more fun with this than so.
Yeah, I think personal enjoyment does come into my ratings. To be fair,
and that's all that matters. You know, your enjoyment and fun with the movie.
And I have shit taste.
You do.
But it's fine.
Anyway,
right,
let's move on. We've got 2 other films to talk about.
How long were we on that one for? What?
Too long.
Too long. Hey, there was a lot to talk about. Okay, so next film is my pick. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next film is 1981's the Galaxy. I don't know what it's Galaxy of Terror, directed by Bruce D. Clark. A ragtag spaceship crew sent on a rescue mission encounter a formidable enemy. Their worst fears projected by their own imaginations. Starring a great cast. You got Robert Englund, obviously Freddy Krueger. You've got Sid Haig. You've got I don't know how to say her name, Grace Zabriskie, but obviously I know her very well from Twin Peaks. You've got Ray Walston in here. You've got I can't say his name, but he's from The Changeling. That Bernard Burns, however you say his name. A lot of quite big names in this film. And a few of them, like people like Robert Englund, before he really became, like a household name for like horror fans and stuff like that. So obviously I've read the synopsis. Basically, it's I was quite confused at the start. I don't know about you guys, but basically it's a rescue mission where they end up on to go to this planet to look for this ship, which something's happened to the ship, and they end up being on this planet that the thing called the Master sent them, which I was really lost at the start of that. Like you've got that character that
it's very
sends them
ambiguous.
off. Yeah, and then it ends up basically they go for this rescue mission. They end up finding this really well made and really beautiful, but like a pyramid thing. Like I don't know, it's not a spaceship or it's like some kind of temple, isn't it? Where basically they start getting picked off one by one by I want to say an alien. It's kind of. It's a little bit of everything. It's similar. Like I don't know what this thing. There's multiple different things in this. and they all just sort of start getting picked off one by one as they start to learn what's going on. I mean, that's pretty much the main plot of the movie. What did you guys think? Like the opening, the first 10 minutes and stuff. Well, what were you sort of thinking? Like,
like you said, a little bit confused as to what was going on. Obviously, they kind of explained that they're on a rescue mission, and it's a bit ragtag crew. Some of them know each other, some of them don't. And they set off into space. And when they set off into space, it's I can't remember the lady, but quite a scary looking lady.
Is that the pilot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of turns up. She turns up late. She's she's last one on board. She's like, "This is my ship. Get out of my seat."
Yeah, that would be like...
And then everyone's strapped in, apart from Robert Englund's character and the other woman that decide to hop on an office chair and hug each other.
That was so weird. I was like, what is he doing? Like the way he had his legs up in the air, and she was holding him like a seatbelt. I was like, what's going on?
I just found it funny how everyone had to strap into proper seats, and they were all kind of acting as if they were going into hyperspace. And then Robert Englund was just mounted on, and they were in just this office chair that could move. But yeah, I was a little bit confused. And then obviously they land, and you kind of get a little bit of sense. I think that's what some in this film that worked that kind of didn't in Alien 2. Everyone had a little bit of personality. Obviously Sid Haig and his clear perspex ninja star things. You got Robert Englund's character is kind of a main one. There was a really, really scared newbie. Who was the first to get killed off by they were just kind of tentacles, weren't they? That came out of the vent.
The one thing this film does do so good compared to, especially after watching Alien 2, was the characters all have their personality. They're these are characters. You know what I mean? They all have. You've got that. Even he's not like the commander, but he's like the angry guy. Who the curly haired one, and then you've got the guy. The whole movie, I thought he was the captain because they kept saying captain. He's not. His name was just sounded like captain.
Yeah.
His name was like Cap'n or something like that. What was his name? It'll tell me on here. His name was Cabron. No, Cabron.
Oh, Cabran. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I thought they were saying captain the whole film until it weren't until towards the end that it said it. I said, did they say Cabron? You've got it is literally it's a colourful cast of characters. You know what I mean? Sid Haig's the quiet, silent, tough guy. You've got Robert Englund, who's a little bit more of the nerdy kind of one. You've got the angry guy. I think looking on here, it's Balin. Is that his name?
Yeah, he was more gung ho sort of action soldier sort of guy.
Yeah,
he constantly had a weapon in his hand.
And then you've got the main guy and girl who are a little bit more they're the normal people, the ones that you kind of follow. They're the main two characters, and then you've got.
They've obviously been on missions together because they knew each other, and there was a bit of a sort of love interest between them.
Yeah,
they had a history.
Yeah, you know what really made me laugh at the start of the film with because you were saying about that Grace, the Captain Tranter, the girl from Twin Peaks, the lady from Twin Peaks. She did it twice, and it killed me both times. Where they're talking normally. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, it just cuts to her, really serious, and she'd said this is where we die or something like that, and I'm and then it just goes back to being normal dialogue. I was like, what? Did you guys notice that bit?
Yeah,
I noticed it once. Yeah,
it happens a little bit later, just not long before she gets it. It happens again. I was like, what is that? But I think my problem with this from the start is maybe it was just me being dumb, but I just felt a little bit confused by the whole thing for the first out of the film. Like, I knew there was a rescue mission, but like I was kind of like, I don't know what was. I just felt a little bit lost in the film, and I don't know. Maybe it was just my frame of mind was when I went into it, but it took me a while to get into the film.
I think that's partly the story and how it was written. It does seem like it was. They kind of did it as they went along, almost. That's how it felt to me.
Yeah, it kind of felt like they had really good sets, because they did. They had really good sets and costume design. They had some good effects, some good gore, and they were like, right, now let's
What do we do with them?
let's make a story. But I will say, like, we'll talk about it more towards the end. The final 15 minutes made me. It kind of made me see the whole film a little bit better, because I kind of feel like at the end it was just, it went quite philosophical, and it kind of, a lot of the things that I wasn't really sure what was going on, it was like, oh, I kind of understand this now. So it's not like, because I was expecting it to go on there and there'd be aliens everywhere, but it's not. It was more, it was like it says on here, it's sort of like it's their worst sort of fears projected, and like I didn't quite understand that at first, and it's not until the final 10 minutes that I was like, oh, is that what it is? I would have liked some kind of explanation of that a bit earlier, or at least hint into it. I don't know if it did or not, but did you get anything like that, Ollie? What were you sort of thinking about
I
that?
kind of thought like the ending made the beginning make more sense, because you know at the beginning you've got the master whose face is glowing. You don't see who it is. You obviously hear his voice, and they're talking about this rescue mission to this planet to find the spaceship. But it kind of hit, you know, even the master says, I will handpick this crew for this mission. And the crew he kind of assembles are just a ragtag party. You've got the crazy captain who just walks on the bridge late, as Will said, doesn't give anyone a chance to actually get prepared for the mission. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going. Everyone get ready. She gives them like 20 seconds to get into their seats and get strapped in. As soon as they get to the planet, she's like, okay, well, that's my job done. See you later. And she just kind of walks off. So it kind of, the beginning of the movie certainly was confusing, but by the end, I think I got what they were going for. Sig Haig is great in it as this quiet sort of like army dude. You know, he's the military aspect. He's got his 2-star crystals, his ninja stars. You know, he has one line throughout the entire movie, which is, I live by the stars, I die by the stars.
Yeah.
And everything else is done by hand gestures when he's talking to people. And it's like the master purposely picked really weird people for this specific mission to find this pyramid on this planet. And the pyramids, because you know I read and collect a lot of alien comic books. That pyramid pretty much looks like the comic version of the xenomorph alien planet, where the nests are, how they create that whole pyramid. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that is awesome. That looks exactly like the alien comics of the aliens homeworld. And especially when you look into the background, like the second director for this movie is Jim Cameron, and it's like, yeah, you can see it. You can see the aspects of shots of corridors, the planet. You can see Jim Cameron's influence on this movie with its set design.
Yeah. I think I think the set design was so good. I just, you know what, the one thing that I think they could have done a little bit more to make it just a tad better was it was only 120 minutes. I think they could have cut out a little bit, added and then made the film like 10 minutes longer, and just had a little bit more like hinting of what might be going on through the film.
Yeah,
because it kind of it felt a little bit like a compilation of really, they had a lot of good stuff going for this.
Mm.
Great gore, great characters, great sets, great alien design. But I just don't think they put it together in an overall too well. And it's not until the very, very end that you kind of start to see the film in a bit of a different light. But I think by then you've already kind of sat there confused for the last hour and 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the first guy, the kind of shy, nervous one that dies, they realize he's dead, and that there's some kind of creatures like on board with them, and then they all kind of get picked off as they get separated. And then it isn't until Robert Englund's kind of main part that we realize that, oh, it's like our own worst fears, like our own worst nightmares.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But like Robert Englund's nightmare was himself. He was kind of being chased and tracked down by himself, and his performance was pretty wicked.
It was awesome.
And I was like, okay, that's quite psychological. But then I thought back to Sid Haig's death, and I thought, so his worst nightmare is losing his star crystals and his his ninja stars, because they like shattered and he couldn't live without them, basically. So
Yeah.
If you're thinking about that aspect, the lady in it, whose worst nightmare is being R-word by a maggot, that's a pretty crazy nightmare to have. Like,
Yes.
your worst fear.
Yeah.
It's a giant maggot getting bigger, sliming all over you and stripping you naked and doing the R-word to you.
Yeah.
That's some crazy shit, really. It's your worst nightmare is being
Yeah,
that
I just
happening to you.
I just really like. I just think the concept of it. They could just, if that was better, I think you've got a brilliant movie here. Because, like you say, the actual like the like the craftsmanship of the film was amazing. Like some of the set pieces and like you said, the alien effects and some of the gore was so good. I just felt really confused, and that was just my biggest gripe with the film.
Mm.
And that's why I put in my review on Letterboxd. I think the more I watch this film, I'm going to enjoy it.
Definitely.
I think if I watch this film again, like soon, and I remember it, I think it's gonna go up in my ratings. You know.
Yeah, I was slightly conflicted as soon as it finished. I was like, I'm not sure if I liked or didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
But the more you think about it, the more you talk about it, I really want to watch it again, just to kind of analyze it a little bit more. And I'm the same as you, Shin. If I was to do that, I would rate this probably higher each time I'm viewing.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit back and watch this again.
Like you've got like the first guy who dies, the cowardly guy who dies. Don't you kind of? I was really confused to where the movie went. Then I was like, did they know that the guy was dead? And then I realised that he's just randomly dead on the bed now, because it kind of looked like it took him out like secretly, and then he dies. Then all of a sudden it cuts to like him on the bed, and it's like I just kind of just felt like it was a little bit like hodgepodge. You know what I mean? Like
Felt a little bit lost in it all.
yeah, and but yeah, like you've got like the first guy who dies, which is a good scene. Like he just gets taken from behind. It's fine, but like it just gets more and more out there, doesn't it, as the film goes on? And you've got so they end up going to this pyramid that they find, and the captain, the older guy, who's behind it and stuff. He climbs down into this hole. And I just was just so confused. I was like, "What's he doing?" Like,
There was no reason for him to go into the hole, really. He just
yeah.
looks at the hole and it's like, I really need to abseil down this hole.
I didn't understand what was going on. So he like goes down into this hole and then gets picked off by these creatures that kind of look like the creature from Alien 2. And then like he ends up getting killed and things. And at this point, I was kind of out the movie. it weren't until they get inside the temple that I was seeing the really positive things about the film. So, because obviously the next person to like, they go into this temple and they find some things, and then that's when Sid Haig gets it, and his death was hilarious.
Brilliant.
Like he gets his crystal breaks. He's very sad. He's devastated,
mortified.
Yeah, he's so the acting. I love Sid Haig, but oh god, it was just it was so dreadful. Like he was like, oh. I was like, oh no. And then the crystal ends up coming back. It goes inside of his arm, and then he punches his arm off.
He kind of punches it, but he uses his other crystal that he's still got left to kind of slice his own arm off with it. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, well, he doesn't punch his arm.
I thought
He's
the
got his other
crystal,
crystal in his hand.
the crystal goes up into his arm, and it kind of works up, and then as it gets to his bicep, he just kind of like clobbers it with his other hand, and it just drops.
I don't think he was holding another crystal.
I swear he was. I swear, because he's got two crystals. One shatters. The crystal works its way up his arm, which is an awesome shot. It's a really creepy shot. He uses his other crystal just to chop his own arm off. But
because both of the crystals break, because he throws both of them at the top.
He throws them at the door to keep the door kind of open, doesn't he?
And then, they both smash, and then they both fix themselves. One of them goes into his arm. He punches his arm off, and then the second crystal goes into his chest. And then that's how he dies.
From what I remember, he straight up just punches his other arm, and then the other crystal, you kind of get a shot of the crystal like flying into him.
But either way, I
can't remember.
He either chops or punches his arm off, and then he dies. Yeah, and then literally like a couple of minutes after that scene is when his arm that's full of maggots.
His arm's full of maggots, yeah.
And then I think she's the doctor. I think she is. I think that's what I got from that. The blonde girl. She sees the arm, sort of runs off and everything, and then one of the maggots turns into this giant creature, which I love the design for. And then you get that scene.
It kind of looked like the brain monster from Starship Troopers.
Yes, that's literally that's what I could. Because it's got that big brown body, doesn't it? And then so she ends up getting, like you say, assaulted by this. So she gets her clothes stripped off, gets attacked by this giant maggot, which is just a horrible thought. Like, ugh, she's so slimy. Like, it's really like a nasty scene. And then she dies. Well, I think she dies, but they shoot her anyway. Like, they burn the body anyway before they could even have a look. They just sort of see her. Carry on.
No, I was going to say, they shoot everybody, though. When they first get to the spaceship, this dead body just kind of flings out from, from the ceiling. They shoot it, and even Sid Haig throws his star at it. Every dead body they come across, they just shoot the shit out of it. Like, even they know their body's dead, but they just disintegrate them with no remorse, no whatsoever. This lady could be still alive after being assaulted by this giant maggot. And to be fair, I don't even know if maggots have dicks. I don't know. But they just kill everybody off. No remorse whatsoever, no feelings, nothing. It's just.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's due to are they trying to make sure there's no infection or something like that. Like, I'm not too sure why.
Nothing's alluded to it either. Nothing's alluded to like an infection. They just go gung ho.
Because
kill everything.
All they do, they walk around the corner and see the girl, like, obviously naked, but just lying there. But she's like kind of in like a curled up position. So I thought she was still alive. I was like, oh no, maybe she's like pregnant or something. Like, but like they walk in and then within seconds just blast her, like, and burn the body. I was like, oh my god, like, at least see she's alive.
Maybe this has happened before.
Yeah, But like you get it kind of from this point, it's kind of carnage because then you get the people, the lady, the pilot, the Twin Peaks lady. She's on the ship. She gets like melted
I
and
love
burnt
her
up.
character. I
Yeah,
love
her
her.
death is her death. The effects on her death are really good.
I just love the fact that she lands on this planet, doesn't give a shit, and she's like, well, okay, I'm just going to go and play a video game, and she's going absolutely mental at this video game. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm just going to go step into this airlock, oven, whatever, and then that's
Yeah,
it. That's her character done. And she's just so, she looks so strung out in it as well. Her eyes are like blackened and like the her eyes look like piss holes in the snow, and they don't really do a lot with her other than she's just crazy as shit. And I loved her, and I was one of my favorite parts of the movie were her
yeah,
scenes.
and she was good. She was good. Then she ends up dying, and then they come back to the ship, and then they go. Then all of them, including like Robert England's character and the cook, whatever his name was, they all go to back to this ship, and then again they all sort of start to die off, and then you have the most shocking scene for me was the death of the girl. Oh, before that, the the commando guy, the angry guy, he gets killed by the biggest, I think, like the biggest alien rip-off moment is that sort of creature, very like xenomorphy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he has
yeah.
like
So
a
she,
confrontation with Robert Englund's character,
oh, he
and
does, yes,
he
he does.
almost shoots him, and then they're like, "Come on, settle down." And he's kind of the hot-headed one is kind of left behind, isn't he? As everyone else moves on into the next area,
Yeah,
and that's when his
yeah. I
demise.
feel like I don't know, like even talking about this movie, I just kind of just feel like it just seems very like middle. You know what I mean? Like everything about it, like even my thoughts afterwards, I just kind of feel like I didn't think it was that exciting, and I just thought it had some really good effects in it. But the obviously after this guy dies, you get the my favorite scene of the film was when the girl, the love interest dies, because I was not expecting her to die. Like like when you watch a typical film like this, you get like
Like the main
the
lead and the
it,
main lady till the
yeah,
end.
till the end. She gets grabbed, and I was like, okay, they're gonna rescue her. And then it starts wrapping around her, and I was like, okay, how's she gonna get out of this? Oh, she doesn't. She gets
Yeah.
annihilated.
Pretty
Oh, that
horrific death, but really well done.
really well done. Like when it starts like you can sort of see her bones breaking as it's like
Yeah.
crushing her, and when you see like how the effects it's having on her leg, when it wraps around her face, you're like, oh no, she's dead. Like, and then her face just, and then she's dead. Like literally crushes her, and then you see the aftermath, and she's literally just like, she's pretty much flat. You know what I mean? Like, it's quite a nasty scene. But yeah, like I just kind of feel like you don't ever learn. You're not learning anything. Like we're just talking about the deaths. I just feel like you're not learning anything through the film.
I don't know. I do think it's one of those movies you need to watch a few times to kind of
Yeah,
get your head around it. If you're going in blind into this, it is a confusing movie. But I think there is a lot that is happening on screen that's why like I said, the ending made more sense of the beginning for me. I don't know if you want to go on to the ending, but obviously, the man with the moustache and Robert England get to these big stairs. The cook is at the top of the stairs. Robert England's like, I can't go on, I can't go on. So the man with the moustache heads up the stairs and confronts what I thought was the master. So the master had purposely put himself on this mission to this space, to this alien planet. For what reason? I still don't really know.
no, I don't
Um,
really know.
but then it comes into this awesome ending fight battle between man with moustache and laser pistol doing the craziest dives forward rolls, it is basically
So many rolls.
He's like front
Dark
flipping
Souls
like a
with a laser.
Jedi.
Exactly, and it's so good and hilarious to watch. And then all of a sudden, he becomes the master. You know, the light from the master's face goes onto his. Robert Englund's character is completely forgotten about. He's just
Yeah.
sitting down there at the bottom of the stairs. There's no resolution for what happens to him.
I thought I might have missed a bit because I thought, did he maybe he
thought I
died? Yeah, but no, he just leaves
Do
him.
anything.
Because
Just leaves him at the bottom
they
of
were
the
treating
staircase.
the main guys if he was the last remaining, like everyone's been killed off, you're the last guy. But he was just poor Robert Englund's just waiting at the bottom of the stairs.
I feel like it went really. It tried to go like really philosophical towards the end, like similar to the next movie in a way. Like it went really philosophical and it was like being the leader of humans or something like that. Is that what the master is? Someone to lead the humans?
They kind of reference the master as this godlike figure.
Yeah.
Everyone worships the master like it's some sort of religion. So it's like he was going back to his home planet. But it's a really confusing ending. I kind of thought maybe he was upgrading himself to another character for them to become the master of like the universe or the world or that religion.
Yeah.
Is a confusing ending. I give it that, but I was still really intrigued by it.
Yeah, it's almost like he was like testing these people, like, and then like Cabron, the moustache guy, was the last one, and he ends up like kind of almost like he got through these trials, and then now his last trial is to kill the master. That's how I sort of took it.
Yeah.
By shooting a laser beam or laser lights from his chest.
What was that?
God knows. I have no idea. I was hoping you guys could figure it out because I couldn't.
I don't know. He like thrusted like lasers out of him. I was like, what's going on?
Out
Like,
of
yeah,
nowhere.
literally.
The movie that's it. The movie just kind of ends. There's
was-
there's not really a resolution to it whatsoever. But it really intrigued me as well that I would love to watch this movie again just to kind of get my head around it.
Do you want to go into your summary and our final thoughts and reviews?
Yeah. So I think for me, I gave it 3 stars because I think it has some fantastic moments and like the craftsman side of it, like the sets and the gore, the alien design, everything about that was like top. Like especially for like the 80s, it's absolutely what I love. All these practical effects, and it's what I love. But then I just can't go any higher because I can't even talking about it now in this podcast. I just kind of feel like it's just a little bit like there's not what's the word there's no. I don't feel like there's much energy to it, and there's no like the story. I'm not excited about the story. I don't really know what was going on, so that's why I've given it 3 stars.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Sure.
Who's next?
I'll go next. I didn't go into this with like extremely high hopes, but the premise did sound interesting. But like you said, I found the story a little bit hodgepodge, a little bit all over the place. And I think maybe with a rewatch, you'd probably understand a bit more, but I don't think there's going to be like this massive revelation of like, oh, I understand it now. You might, I think the story might just make a bit more sense. And I think my score probably would go with a rewatch. But I think Robert Englund's performance was really noteworthy. You can definitely see his potential to become like a legend later in his career. I think production set and the gore was easily the best part. And if you want to see some like early James Cameron work, it's really, really cool. There's so many cool scenes, cool sets, cool backgrounds. But yeah, the story in that and everything else wasn't really my jam. Didn't super connect with it. But I think this compared to Alien 2, there was enough stuff to keep me interested and awesome visuals that I was like, that kept it like somewhat engaging. So I gave it 2 out of 5, which is probably slightly on the lower end. I was between 2 to 2.5. I think just the story just really lost me. To the point where I just wasn't really interested in the story, but I did want to see it out just to see the rest of the awesomeness on screen. So yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, fair, valid points. So like I said, after watching this, I was a little bit conflicted. I don't know if I'll really enjoy this movie or was just confused by it. I know we've brought up the early, James Cameron work. You can certainly see on the screen the set design, characterization was. I loved the characterization in this movie. Robert Englund was great. Even though Sid Haig doesn't do a lot, he does portray himself on screen really well. I loved the captain in this movie. She is batshit. Loved every single scene she was in. Yeah, it was confusing. I think you might understand it more on multiple viewings. But I feel I really like this movie. And I would love to watch it again. I'd literally watch it again right now. So I'm going to bump it up to 3.5 stars.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting because, like, yeah, I think we all kind of agree on that one. Like potential there, but like you say, story I think lets it down, and like you say, a bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, well, 'cause, obviously it's produced by, B movie maestro Roger Corman, who
Yeah,
initially I think he had the rights to Alien originally, and it was kind of took off him. So he kind of, I wouldn't say he rushed this out, but he wanted to make his own version of Alien, and he made this, and obviously it's different from Alien, but it's probably up there as one of his better movies. Um, but I don't know. I really enjoyed this. Like, I would love to sit and watch it again, and I'll probably will relatively soon. And I think my score would probably improve. So, yeah. I genuinely 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this.
yeah,
Fair enough. Shall we?
nice.
Are we
Get
ready
on
to
to the
move
next
on?
one.
Yeah.
I think so. Whose is the next movie? Oh, it's yours, Will, isn't it?
It is.
Go ahead.
Do we even have a thing? Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's Star Crystal, 1986, directed by Lance Lindsay. Um, crew members aboard a spaceship encounter an alien life form intent on killing them. Wowee. Are you excited to watch this film? Okay.
What a synopsis.
I think that's got to be the best. So I think for Alien ripoffs, this is literally feels like a homemade ripoff. A bunch of mates have just seen Alien, they're like, "That's sick. I want to make this with a bunch of mates." Just gonna make a funny version of Aliens, basically, with some other influences later on in the film. What did you guys think initially going in?
Do you want to start, Ollie?
So this was the first movie I watched out of all three movies. So I kind of went in with quite high expectations. Doing the background, Lance Lindsay, he's only directed 3 movies, and those 3 movies, basically, he has the same actors in all of his 3 movies that he's directed. So everyone in this movie has been in at least one of his other movies. It, Will's right. This is like someone had watched Alien and wanted to make their own kind of version of it. It looks like it was filmed in someone's garage. I've probably seen bigger budgets in porno movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
It's the concept's great. Um, but it is basically just set in 2 rooms, and there's basically just 2 or 3 different sort of camera angles that are used. It's either the shot of the control room, the engine room is just the same static shot of some random strobe light in a box, and that's the engine for the spaceship. The alien monster was... I wasn't a fan of it.
It was just tentacles, weren't it, for most of the film?
Basically tentacles, and there's some really weird shots in this movie, and the acting's pretty bad. The overall beginning of the movie is quite confusing. You know, they come across this ship, and it looks like everyone's suffocated on the ship. So, like, a salvage team goes out, picks up the ship, takes it to this space station. And then about 2 minutes later, the space station is set to self-destruct, and there's just random shots of people, like, it looks like they've just filmed it in an old shopping mall with escalators. And all of a sudden, the ship explodes, and there's a few survivors that get onto that original salvaged ship, where the original crew had, like, suffocated, and alien carnage sort of ensues after that.
Yeah, I think it started off like it was literally just a way to get some people on this ship.
Yeah.
Like, but I just thought the whole, like, you know, like they have got some kind of council meeting and stuff. That was literally pointless.
It is pointless because
There was no value in that. Like yeah, it was just a way to get them on that ship. Like, so a couple of people on the ship.
yeah, and I was just like, the space station is just self-destructed, and nobody's like, everyone's just running around. So why the hell is this happening? I was so confused by it.
Yeah, yeah. I think like this. I think from what I gathered was obviously they brought the ship back. There was a few people working on the ship, you know, like trying to like find out what was up, like you know, like just a group of them. And then the main ship it was like, you know, I don't know, you know, those ships like you've got a colony, you've got like a colony on the ship that ends up blowing up. There's some fire or something. It doesn't explain it really, does it? But that's just a reason to get these people on this ship with barely any food or oxygen or anything like that. They have to just try and get to. Is it like they've got to get to like a checkpoint or somewhere, don't they?
It's an outpost on some planet, which is like a couple of days away, and they've only just got barely enough resources to get there.
And I do think they made it a little bit more. They made it more complicated than they need to, because like the thing is this film has no budget and no experience on it. Like, you literally go onto their IMDb page, and the actors, their pictures are their characters from this film.
Yeah.
Like,
they have literally just been in this movie and like one other movie.
Yeah, like literally, like this is the definition of like a B movie, maybe even a C movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's so low budget. And I've got to say, like, I thought they did a decent job with the budget they had. Like, I thought like you said the alien, the tentacles are a little bit, they were a little bit bad. Like, it weren't really exciting, the tentacle things. But I think they did that because of reasons later on in the film, which we won't get into just yet. Like, you know, at the very end. But like, yeah, I do think like once they were on the ship, and you had the goal of like they need to get to here, and they don't have much food, they don't have much. There's only like 6 of them or 5 of them. I thought it got really good at that point, you know. And then they all start getting picked off, like one by one. Your typical sort of, you got your POV shots of the alien traveling around and things. I think, like, I don't know if you guys will agree, but I thought it was a okay-ish horror film, sci-fi slasher for the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought it was
they killed off quite a lot of the crew quite early on into the movie.
Way too quickly.
Way too quickly. So there was quite a large chunk of, say, 45, 50 minutes of just two characters left still on ship with this alien monster crawling around the vents and in the engine room, science lab.
Yeah.
But you're right, Shin. For the budget they had, even though it looks like it was filmed in a garage, some of the outside shots of the ship looked pretty decent. Some of the effects work were quite good.
Like I had no problems really with like the way I actually quite liked the small ship because it kind of felt like I knew my way around it, even though it was like you say it was like 3 rooms and then some tunnels. But like after like 20 minutes I knew the ship, so if I knew if they were in that corner they needed to come this way, get out. Like so they all start sort of dying off one by one. Again, you don't really see a lot. It's usually you see the tentacle wrap around like a leg. And then you see an arm, and then like it obviously blood starts coming out, and then the main effects are more the aftermath when you see the corpses. That's where you get
look really good.
The corpses look, yeah, they do look
awesome.
They do look really really good. And then you've got like they all start sort of like they get taken out one by one, but I really quite like the way that they do it because like the actual like what you see they're definitely hiding a lot. But like I really like how they've got like the alien sort of like motion tracker thing.
Yeah,
I really like that because like it's quite tense, where you can see the woman like when she's in that room with it, you can sort of see the dot coming towards her and she's like moving around and then like when it gets her light goes out. Like I think that was a really creative way of building tension when it doesn't have much of a budget. Like I thought that was like it not incredible or anything, but it was I was like I appreciate it a lot, and I was like, okay, this is not bad.
It made the most of what sets they had, being they only had basically 3 sets and a tube that they used for vents. Having that map pop up made the ship look larger than it actually was.
Yeah.
I do love that to travel between all the rooms though they had to crawl like in a little vent corridor. Like this is set way in the future, but they couldn't afford full size corridors.
Well, I was thinking that.
Well, one of the things that really annoyed me about this movie, and I don't know if anyone else picked up on it, was the amount of shots of just computer screens and typing.
Oh, people just literally spamming on a keyboard and like
spamming on a keyboard, just information. It's just a shot of a computer screen with the green writing. Obviously they do it in Alien when Dallas and Ripley are talking to Mother, the mother of the ship sort of thing. But it's only used slightly. In this, every other shot is a shot of a computer screen and some words being typed on it, and it really annoyed me by the end. It was just a constant thing throughout the movie.
I think that, and like you said, the camera work was like very basic. But I don't think they could have done anything.
One shots for everything.
They were just super still, bland shots. But I think they couldn't really do too much, otherwise they'd be exposing where they were. But what I did like that was not quite touched on was the film got quite funny. So after
I was about to say that.
After the first like night, the 2 guys they become like kind of close. They've got a few. They've had a few drinks, and he's trying to
like bros.
Yeah, the main guy is like trying to impress the lady and trying to try and woo her, let's say. And there's moments where he's like drunk on the phone talking to her in a different room, and the other guy, what's his name, Cal, he's just giving him the thumbs up the entire time. I was pissing myself. It felt like Seinfeld in space at some point.
Yeah, it had. I was thinking that. I wanted to bring it up. Like, I thought that the first half of the film, the dialogue was like quite funny. That Cal was a funny character.
Yeah.
Like he made me laugh a few times, and the sort of like hate between the doctor, the main girl and the main guy.
Yeah.
Their intercom conversations, they just hate each other, and then you've got that horrible woman downstairs she's just really jealous and bitter, and like I thought it was actually like they had really good chemistry.
Yeah, it was, and it was quite well written for the budget of film. Like it's a homemade film, pretty much. Let's say. So I wasn't expecting great things from like story and writing, but like I was like laughing throughout the film, and that's why it annoyed me so much that at the halfway mark there was only 2 characters left. Like they just kind of killed all that off, and then
Yeah.
the film kind of becomes something different entirely.
Because I was like, when I saw that there was still like an hour left, like there was a long time, and there was only the 2 of them left. I was like, okay, what now then? And then you had the other spaceship like communicated with them, and I went, okay, here's some more deaths. They're gonna come on the ship, and then like here's the body count, but they don't come on the ship. And then this is where the film went down for me. There was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of this film that was so forgettable.
Yeah, it's
and
just a slog to get through.
and so boring. I was like, this film was doing so well, and now it is just completely just dropped. It is completely dropped. It was just the 2 of them. I don't know what was going on. Like, I think I was that bored that I sort of zoned. I was zoning out a little bit. I was trying to stay in the movie, but I was getting a bit bored. It was like 1 a.m. as well. And then all of a sudden, like when I started seeing people playing American football on like they're throwing the rock around on the planet. You know, when they're watching the videos.
That sketch was hilarious.
And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like the film lost me for about 20 minutes, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, but I think in that 20 minutes is probably but there's a scene with some of the best dialogue in the entire movie, and it's when Captain Campbell, you know, the main survivor, the dude, he's talking about his last name, Campbell, and he's going on for about 5 minutes about how his ancestry was owned Campbell Soup, but his like generations ago they gambled it all away, so he's just now just some bloody engineer on a spaceship, even though he's part of a multi-million-dollar sort of Campbell Soup empire. And I was like, what the hell is this coming from? But it is genius that, because the actor's name is actually Robert Campbell. His character's called Captain Campbell, and all of a sudden he's the direct ancestor of Campbell Soup. I was like, that is some pretty genius writing, just randomly threw in that 20 minutes of where nothing really happens.
See, I think I might have got like, you know how you were with Alien 2, where you were just like out of the film a little bit, probably weren't. I was like this for this 20 minutes of this film. I was not enjoying myself. I was like watching the clock every couple of minutes, like what is going on now? You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember. I can't tell you anything that happened in that 20 minutes other than the space throwing the rock in space.
Yeah, it's pretty much the space rock and him talking about his family history of owning Campbell Soup. That in that 20-minute space, that is pretty much all that happens.
Yeah, like you said, that the other starship that goes past communicates with them, and the guy trying to talk to them, he sounds like a mix between a 60s sports commentator and a breaking news anchor guy.
Yeah.
And then literally after that, it's about 28 minutes of kind of nothing, but you see, all that I remember is that the actual alien starts just growing, and
that's when the film got really good.
Yeah.
Oh, the film gets amazing after that.
It was way too short, but it was good. Carry on, sorry, Ollie.
It's when the alien accesses, obviously he takes over the ship, takes over the mother aspect of the ship, and he starts accessing computer drives of human history and starts reading the Bible, and then like gets this sort of humanity where he kind of thinks, oh, killing people is bad. And I was like, this is genius. This is brilliant. And gets more sympathetic for the last 2 survivors because he's read the Bible.
Well, he does even say, he says that he only killed the people
because he felt under threat.
Because they tried. I mean, to be fair, the first lady, it doesn't really show you too much, but she tries to hit it with a wrench, doesn't she? The second woman, she throws acid on it, and then the third guy tries to shoot at it, so it
Exactly.
kills it.
So
Like it was scared.
does
It
make
was
sense.
scared.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I thought the ending, alien design, brilliant. The sort of philosophy of it. I know we said a little bit about the ending of Galaxy of Terror. This kind of went like very philosophical towards the end, but I thought it did it really well. I really liked the alien. I really enjoyed the last 10 minutes of the film.
The last
I
10 minutes of this movie is hilarious. It is
Yeah,
fantastic. It's well worth watching the entirety of it just for the last 10, 15 minutes of this movie. I was in stitches watching this.
I just wish, like, the thing that really annoys me looking back at it is why do we have this 20 minutes of utter nothingness? Like, why don't you just have a couple of minutes of them being on their own for a little bit, or 5 minutes, or even 10, and then extend that ending? Like, add that alien in it for like another 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So you would get more because they have this big conversation which I really like where he explains himself, the alien talks, and then the next thing they're playing chess. Like, like the thing is I would have just liked to have seen that for an extra 10-15 minutes.
I
Like
kind of got the vibe that they were like, yeah, let's make a Alien ripoff, and then halfway through they must have watched E.T. and they were like,
yeah,
actually, let's make this an E.T. film, and it breaks into these like a compilation of cutaways of them playing games, fixing up the ship, and him handing in the weapon, the little tool, and it's like hanging by a
Yeah,
string.
it was like an
And he,
episode of Red Dwarf or something.
it
Yeah.
does. It's exactly like Red Dwarf. And there's a scene where they're like Captain Campbell's fixing the ship with this wrench, and obviously you kind of see the string of the wrench kind of floating towards him, and like Captain Campbell makes some sort of quip, and the alien is like, "Yeah, you are a bit of a prick, really, aren't you, Captain Campbell?" And it's like, that's fucking hilarious. That is brilliant. Even the alien realizes this main character is a bit of a douchebag,
Yeah, like
and actually calls him a prick. I was like, brilliant. Love this movie. This last 10 minutes is fantastic.
yeah, I agree. I thought the ending left, even though it was only like 10 minutes, it left an impression on me. Like when I think of that film, I think of that alien, and I think of that. Literally, it's 10 minutes, if that. But that's what I really think of all of that. I think that was. I thought it took a really interesting turn, and the movie won me back over.
It totally does, and I have to say, like the end credit song is some pop ballad. When I
Yeah.
looked into it, it's sung by Stefania Christopherson. She ended up voicing Velma in voicing Daphne in the '60s Scooby Doo
I saw that
cartoon
actually.
show.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. She went on to become the voice of Daphne in '60s Scooby Doo.
Oh wow,
Like late
that's
Scooby Doo, and she ends up singing the end credit song, which just comes out of nowhere. This quite catchy poppy tune.
yeah. Like it was kind of like it kind of felt quite sad when they left him, and that's why
Yeah,
I just wish we would have had like another 10-15 minutes of it, like because it was just very very rushed. Even though it was good, it was very rushed. Yeah.
Shall we go into summaries? Because this is gonna be a long
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I think that's probably a good place. Do you want to go? It's your film. Well, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So obviously this wasn't a great film. It's a homemade film. It's not a film like you're gonna see at the cinema. But I think this is another one you could watch with a bunch of friends and have a great time. Um, I think what I liked about this one that I didn't get with the other two was just how funny it was. I didn't expect it to be so funny. So it was just a nice surprise to see like the comedic writing. Some of the shots we didn't. I know you mentioned like some of they were like die-cast models of this ship, and they tried to make it look as real as possible. And I thought they looked good until the ship got hit with rocks, which are literally just these tiny little stones being thrown, and then you kind of grasp the size of the ship is actually like probably fit it in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we were talking about how enjoyable some of like the comedy in it, and the gore's alright. The alien looks funny, quite gooey, and that is one of the main reasons I picked the film as well, because I saw a picture of him. I was like, he looks amazing. I need to see it. But there is quite a few snippets, especially in the middle, where it is a little bit of a slog to get through. I think, yeah, from when everyone dies off to the point where the alien becomes, understanding of the human race, all of that in between was a little bit of a bore to get through. So I gave it 2 out of 5, which is the same I gave Galaxy of Terror. But I think with this one, I enjoyed it more. I found it funny, had a bit of a good time, whereas Galaxy of Terror, kind of the opposite. I had a decent time, but it was more, I was watching it for the visuals, the gore, the production. It was almost just like a comedy sketch, almost. So yeah, 2 out of 5.
Fair enough. Do you want me to go next, or yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I gave this 2 on Letterboxd, but I think in hindsight, like after like a day or two of thinking back, I think I enjoyed it more than 2 stars. So I went in going up to 2.5. If it weren't for that middle section, I think it could be even higher. But the middle section, that 20 minutes was so dull and boring. But the first hour 45 minutes was brilliant, and the last 10 minutes was brilliant. Was really good. Yeah, so yeah, 2.5.
I'll just say this is definitely so bad it's good movie. There is a lot that I really disliked about it, especially, I know I mentioned it, the computer screens constantly throughout the movie. It was really annoying. But the first half of this movie is great. The last 10-15 minutes of this movie is just worth watching the whole movie just for those last 10 minutes. It's hilarious. I can't, I saw this before I watched Alien 2, and I thought, Christ, this movie is pretty bad. But after watching Alien 2, it made me appreciate Star Crystal a hell of a lot more. And it's one of those movies that if I was to come across it again, I would sit down and watch it again, just because I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. So I'll probably be mimicking you, Shin, and probably give it a 2.5-star movie. Even though the budget was bad, it looks like it was filmed in a garage. I really had fun with it.
Yeah, it makes it quite hard to rate, doesn't it?
It's a hard to rate movie. Originally I would probably say, oh, this is like a 1.5, 2-star movie. But looking back, I did have a lot of fun with this movie. So my final rating is 2.5 stars.
Nice. Yeah, sounds good. I do think we should probably end it there because it has been probably over 2 hours now.
Yeah, this gonna be a long one.
A long one. They're getting longer and longer as they go. Episode 10 is going to be 4 hours. With that, thank you everyone for listening. Thanks again, you two, for disrespecting Alien 2.
Always a pleasure.
No, really fun podcast. Really fun to record this one. We haven't fully decided what the next episode will be, I don't think yet, but I think we've got some ideas, haven't we? But I don't think anything's been like, yes, like this is what we're doing. So I won't say nothing yet.
Well, it's Deadpan Will's choice, so it's either going to be Surreal Movies or the Step Up franchise. Either way, I'm in. I'm
it's hard. I'm weighing up my options.
Yeah.
I still think we need to do this a comedy episode where we do really bad movies that we all know we all hate, such as Sandra Bullock movies. We're going to have to see what happens, really. Because it's just going to be torture.
I don't. Yeah. I'll make. I'm gonna make you all of you guys watch Alien 2-3 times if that's the case. But right. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. The usual. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that jazz. Anything. Put in the comments if you guys got any suggestions or if you've seen any of the films. What do you think of them? And anything like that. I like to respond to everyone's comments. These guys can see the comments as well and everything, so get in there. I'm gonna create a Discord page and a Facebook page for members to join as well, so that'll be something interesting for us all. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you very much.
Thank you. See you on the flip side.
See you when I see you.
Bye bye.
Bye.